Hey guys, it's Foz. Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be making a tier list for all tomorrow's characters or species based on how good they would be at Call of Duty. Okay, let's start off with the Satyriacs. These guys are essentially humans, except they're really horny and they're in the shape of a velociraptor. They have this really big tail in the back. And as you all know, Call of Duty gamers, they get all their power from the gamer gun that accumulates on their gaming chairs, and I imagine that tail would be a pretty big hindrance that would prevent them from sitting in any normal gaming chair that absorbs their gamer gun. So I'm gonna have to put these guys at B tier because they're pretty smart. However, the tail is stopping them from sitting and absorbing all the gamer gunk they make. Okay. Next species is the Amphicephali. These guys actually aren't human. Whatever. These guys are snakes inside of snakes. So what happens is the snake opens its mouth, and inside is a smaller snake with hands, and that's the one that does all the brain. Like that's the brains of the entity. So I'm gonna have to put these guys at a C tier, mostly because they have to open their mouth to actually use the controller, and their hands don't look very good at holding an actual controller. So, yeah. Alright, next up, the Asteromorphs. These guys are extremely smart, and they propel through space because they live in 0G. They propel themselves using what's essentially like they have like a hair dryer on their butt, and when they fart, that's how they move around. So these guys are really big. They have big hands, so that would make it pretty hard to hold a controller right. But they have big brains, so I'm gonna put these guys at a C tier. Also, because they have pretty big brains, however, their hands are preventing them from doing anything really good with them in Call of Duty. Alright, next up, the asymmetric people. These guys only have one actual hand they use to play with a controller. So that's automatic points off, non-existent points. And, so that would obviously make it pretty hard to use a controller. And on top of that, they have a pretty funky face, so that would make viewing the screen really hard. And on top of that, they cannot sit on a gaming chair, unless it would have to be like custom made for them, because they got funky legs. So put these guys at D tier, because of the hands and the legs. All right, next up is the author of the book. This guy only has one arm, or at least that's what it looks like. I'm assuming he only has one arm, and that would make it pretty hard to hold a controller like the asymmetric people. So put this dude at D tier again. Alright, blind folk. Okay, bone crushers. These guys are not very smart in their society. They reached a medieval age before they went out of extinction. They also communicate by taking a dump on each other, which is actually, I'd consider that a plus, because when they need to talk to someone, they just take a load. They just drop a load on them. That's basically what Call of Duty players do. I'm gonna have to put these guys in B tier. They take a dump like Call of Duty players, however, they're not very smart. Okay, bug facers. After a war on their planet with another alien species, these guys became extremely xenophobic, just like Call of Duty players. So that's an obvious S tier. Alright, colonials. These guys fought off the queue, and they were actually pretty successful for a while, but after that they eventually lost, and then the queue turned them into these like like rectangles of flesh. And that's all they do is filter out their waste products. And I imagine that's not very fun. And like I said, these guys are basically rectangles, so they won't be able to play actual Call of Duty. Alright, next up is the Sail People. These guys are actually pretty... They're very humanoid, I guess. However, they have a hook on their middle fingers, and I imagine that would make it very hard to hold the controller. Okay, next up. I forgot what these guys were called. But they have wings, so that would make it pretty hard to hold the controller. Oh, these guys, the hand flappers, their hands are so messed up that they can't use them as hands or wings. And they have a really weird ball sack. That's kind of creeping me out, so I'm gonna put these guys at D tier. The Gravitols. These guys are hyper-intelligent machines, and they manipulate gravity to move around. However, they cannot hold a controller right, because they're just balls. So, put these guys at D tier. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna make another row. Balls. These guys are balls. That's their tier. Their balls tier. Alright, next up, these are the hedonists. These guys, all they do is have sex. That's pretty much it. Because their planet didn't have any natural obstacles that forced evolution. They're basically Call of Duty players. If they were actually successful in finding a woman. So they have they're somewhat intelligent. I think that's what I can remember. They're somewhat intelligent. They have human hands, but they also have a pretty funky tail. So I imagine it'd be pretty hard to sit in a gaming chair like this Satyriacs. So I'm gonna put these guys at C tier. They're lower than the Satyriacs because I don't like the look that person is giving me. Alright, next up, the Insectophagi. I don't remember that's how the name is. Something along those lines. Alright, all these guys do is eat bugs. And Call of Duty players do not eat bugs. They actually eat like microwaved foods. And they drink G Fuel. So that's not part of their diet. Put these guys at D tier. Alright, next up is the Killer Folk. Their hands are pretty weird compared to our hands. So that would make it really hard to hold a controller. However, they're actually pretty smart. These guys are pretty smart. So put these guys at C tier. Just because they're pretty smart. That's basically it. Actually, I'm gonna move these guys, the Bone Crushers, to A tier, because Call of Duty players need to get up to take a dump, but these guys just do it on the spot. Alright, next up is the Lizard Herders. The Q stunted their intelligence, so they're pretty dumb. All they can do is herd lizards, and I don't know about you, but Call of Duty players do not herd lizards. So these guys are human though, so I'm gonna put these at C tier. Lopsiders. These guys have the same problem as the asymmetric people. They were also wiped out by the asymmetric people, so it's kind of a beta move. They have one hand, and they look pretty funky, so I'm gonna put them at D tier. The Mantelopes. These guys are basically giraffes, so they can't hold the controller right, but they're pretty smart. Or at least they were. All they do is cry. And Call of Duty players, they don't cry, they actually get pretty ticked off. So D tier. Okay, the Martians. These guys are basically humans, but they're anorexic. They're basically anorexic humans. I'm gonna put these guys at A or S. I'm gonna put these guys at A tier, because they're basically humans in every way, but They're pretty thin. So, yeah. Alright, these are the modular people. These guys actually evolved from the colonials. And they're actually made out of, like, multiple entities. So you're basically fighting an entire esports team when you play against them. So I'm gonna put them at S tier. These guys, okay. New machines. These guys are descendants of the Gravitols, and they can change their body to whatever they want. Well, they can make like new limbs and stuff. So I'm gonna put these guys at S tier again because they can make a bunch of hands to play Call of Duty with. Right, parasites. These guys are actually really small, so I don't think they could even touch the Call of Duty controller. Or the controller, not the Call of Duty controller. Whatever. The predators. These guys are basically animals. I don't think a dog can play Call of Duty, so I don't think these can either. And the prey, same thing. Alright, the Ptero sapiens. How did I put these guys? These guys have wings, so they wouldn't be able to hold the controller. All they really do is philosophize, and that's kind of lame. So I'm gonna put these guys at I'm gonna put these guys at C tier, just because they're pretty smart, but the hands are pulling them down. All right, the Q. These guys are actually what created all of these species, or at least most of them. They can change their body to whatever they want through genetic engineering. So theoretically, there is a Q that has genetically modified their body to only be able to play Call of Duty. So that's an instant S tier. Ruin Hunters. These guys are basically Squidward, but on land. These guys are actually ancestors of the balls. Yeah, and these guys are probably the most, or were the most advanced out of all the human species. They found ruins of the old human settlements, and in like a few thousand years, they were already waging nuclear war against each other. These guys are pretty smart. I'm gonna put these guys at B tier because they're Squidward. And the sail people. The only way these guys can grab stuff is with their tongues, and that is kind of a beta move, if you ask me. Yeah. I'm gonna put these guys at C tier, because I can't imagine playing Call of Duty with a tongue. Alright, the Sauro Sapiens. These are descendants of the lizard herders. They're actually descendants of the lizard that the lizard herders herded. Oh. And they're riding the human. It's pretty weird. These guys are basically the Satyriacs, but they're actually lizards. So I'm gonna put these guys at B tier. Can't accumulate all the gamer gunk on their chair. Alright, snake people. These guys are snakes. And they have one hand, and it comes out of their butt. It's pretty weird. Only one hand. Alright, I'm gonna put them at C tier. These are the spacers. They're actually ancestors of the Asteromorphs. They have the same problems too, which is pretty funny. They have big hands, and they propel themselves through space using their farts. It's pretty funny. I'm going to put these guys in the same place as the Asteromorphs. Alright, star people. These are descendants of the Martians, and they were genetically modified to be able to go on all these planets, and they're actually the ancestors of all the human species, which is pretty cool. They're basically Martians, so I'm gonna put these guys at A tier. Alright. These guys. I kind of forgot what they are. But I do know. I do know. These guys have extremely fragile bones. Oh, these guys were called Striders. I just remembered. The Striders have really fragile bones. So, because of the low gravity on their planet, they're also really tall. So that would make it really hard to look at the monitor while playing Call of Duty, unless the monitor was like really high. I'm going to assume it's not. If these guys fall over, their bones instantly shatter. So I'm assuming they're not strong enough to hold a controller. I'm gonna put these guys at D tier. All right. Next up, the subjects. These guys are descendants of the bug facers. They're basically slaves. These guys were genetically modified as basically everything. So that means there is probably a subject that's able to be like a Call of Duty partner in like duos or whatever. I don't actually play Call of Duty. Whatever. They'd probably make a pretty good teammate because they'd be genetically engineered to be good at Call of Duty. I don't know if that's possible. I'm just gonna assume it is. Actually, yeah. I'm gonna put these guys at S tier. Alright. Okay. Forgot what these are called. They're basically dolphins, and they can't really play. They can't really play Call of Duty because they're underwater. So their Xbox would short circuit. Short circuit isn't the right term. I feel like it just fills up with water and instantly break. So that's an instant D tier. Alright, the symbiotes. These guys are actually pretty smart. Some of them probably have gaming hosts, because they switch between hosts every day. So I'm gonna put these guys in B tier, just because it just depends on the host, like the parasite that's on top of the host. Alright, next up, the Tempters. All these guys really do, or the women, all these girls really do, is sit in the ground and call their mates. The males are basically simps. They do whatever the female tells them. So, and they're actually really small, so they wouldn't be able to play Call of Duty that well. They're kind of like, just imagine Stuart Little if he was playing Call of Duty. So, yeah, it's probably not very good. Next up, the Terrestrials. These guys basically have a god complex, like Call of Duty players. However, they have really long, spindly arms. So they look like spiders. They look like fetuses with spider legs. And I don't really want to imagine that. These guys are going in B tier, just because they can. They're really smart. Not that smart. They're pretty smart though. And they're basically like the gods of the planets they control. Next up, Titans. This thing that's going down their mouth is actually it's actually like a lower lip. So that's what they use to like move around and stuff. Not move around. That's what they use to like grab stuff. They'd probably not be very good at Call of Duty. They're basically playing it with their lip, and I don't know. This doesn't sound right. Right, D tier, C tier. Just because. Actually, no. I'm gonna put these guys in D tier. Next up, Tool Breeders. These guys actually have living tools. So they have like squid TVs. Their spaceships are made out of living animals. They live inside biological houses. They're pretty cool. However, they live underwater, and they can't really grab stuff, so I'm gonna put these guys in D tier. And the worms, they're just worms. I don't think worms can play Call of Duty. Alright. Yep, that's the end of my tier list. Here's the full tier list for you guys. And anyways, that is it. Thank you for watching. These are like one of the first few videos I've done that are actually over 10 minutes.